Are you ready to laugh? Are you ready to laugh? Be quiet, you awful, awful man. All right, so look, a very interesting conversation took place on Rising. And yes, I know. Bree and Robby kind of butted heads, but there's just one moment that's pure gold. That's outstanding. So Robby tries to end a segment and gets denied. Flat out denied. But it's a very interesting comment because at first it has to deal with Charlamagne the God, calling out Joe Biden, saying that he was a terrible, that he's a piss poor representative for the Democrats to choose. Now, obviously, I think I've made my opinion about Charlamagne the God. I think he's going to vote for Biden because all these celebrities, musicians, all these people of influence are at the end of the day going to vote blue no matter who. But more and more people are coming out being critical of Joe Biden. But the conversation evolves differently. It transforms time and space. But it's listen. Grab the popcorn because this is funny. And Robby, baby, honey, sweetheart, get a Snickers bar. Grab a Snickers bar before you start getting a debate with Bree, okay? Because you're not yourself when you're hangry.
On to call Republicans crooks, Democrats cowards, and said the couch is voter apathy. He says voter apathy seems to be winning. Yeah, no argument there. I think that Charlamagne the God is completely right to say that, like most Americans, both of these options are unsatisfactory. I think Elizabeth Farah is right to bring up this double hater language. That term got coined because there's so many people who feel that way and needed to get a name. And the sort of frantic panic of the rest of the host trying to get him to fall in line is really endemic of what a lot of, frankly, third-party voters have been experiencing for a long time. That line in particular, that you are sitting this one out if you criticize the major two-party candidates or the one that's more to the left, is such a kind of form of gaslighting. Like, no, I vote, I participate politically. I just choose to vote for and endorse candidates that actually reflect my beliefs. And if Joe Biden wants to be that candidate, then he's going to have to reflect my beliefs.
Right, because he clearly wasn't saying from his perspective that he thinks they're equally bad. He was, when he talked about attacks on democracy in the election, et cetera, he was clearly signaling that he thinks Trump is worse. But that what I gather is Biden has not met his minimal acceptance standard. And so, and there are other candidates in the race, for people on the left, there are other people to choose
from. Yes, although
certainly.
I think he's good. He plans to vote for Biden, which is my criticism of Charlamagne the God, is that I think he's not going far enough. What he's doing that's
right.
helpful.
If you are voting for Biden, but you're not going to do an endorsement, that seems
just
like a very
say it.
silly
Like,
difference.
say I'm voting for Biden. Like, at a certain point, it seems like sophistry. Like,
well, that's the whole game too. I think we all know these celebrities know how their bread is buttered, okay? And they listen, Hollywood, celebrities, the whole things from the East Coast to the West Coast, the Democrats got them in luck, okay? Anyone, if you host a major radio show, TV show, movie star, any of these producers, anyone of any influence, they're all going to be the diehard vote blue, no matter who, neoliberal water carriers. That's all what they are. That's all what these celebrities always will be. But I think there's a lot of frustration, and no one can hide it. No one can deny it. All right. It's not the 1990s anymore. Okay. Gone are the days of quote unquote innocence. And so when you have celebrities say, well, Biden's not doing the bare minimum, but then still vote Democrat, you're not really adding anything to the conversation.
What face are you trying to save here? If you don't like Biden, but you're going to vote for him, then you are succumbing to this vote blue no matter who, and just own that you think it's important to save the democracy and do that.
Right.
But I think
Samuel, yes, I see you in the chat. Yes, there will be a cat fight, but trust me on it. It is gold. You got to build up to it first. You got to build up to it.
Would be actually more powerful and more interesting is if he truly resisted vote blue no matter who, because frankly, the only way, in my view, democracy is going to get saved is if you force the Democrats to actually be democratic and force them to actually uphold their stated values in order to earn those votes. You don't get anything out of saying months and years before an election cycle that no matter what Joe Biden or insert generic Democrat is going to do, you're going to vote for them no matter what. That is a guaranteed formula to make sure your vote is never earned. underserved. And when people say, no, I'm withholding my vote, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden as a knee-jerk reflection, what they're often told is you're being apathetic or you want Donald Trump to win. No, I am giving you as a voter an opportunity to court me, to get my vote, but it requires you to actually change your policies that are so anathema to what most Americans want. Change on Gaza, do something about the economy, fulfill your promises to Black voters, whatever it is, to change. And then you have an opportunity to actually get those votes. But asking voters to say that they're going to commit to voting down for a party, no matter what they say or do, is exactly how you get a Democratic Party that drifts to the right, courting Republican voters whose votes aren't considered to be entitled, given to the Democrats. So they keep courting those people. They keep shifting more and more to the right. Meanwhile, you have an entire base who's standing there with their arms in the air saying, well, what am I, chopped liver? You just have this expectation that I'm going to fall in line. And that's why the most consistent Democratic voters are the most underserved voters in America, namely Black voters who vote in line with the Democratic Party at greater numbers and more consistency than any other group in America. Is there a relationship between the promises that are broken to Black Americans and the fact that they will vote for Democrats no matter what? I would argue, yes, there is.
Yeah, I don't know that most Republicans feel like the Democratic Party is actually trying to get their votes.
You heard Joe Biden. He put ads out saying Nikki Haley voters come to me. Has he put an ad out saying
policies that they support? The Democratic Party has moved
his border
far
policy
to the left.
His border policy.
Wait, hold on, Robby. Biden's not. Everyone keeps saying Biden's going to the left or communist or socialist. Got their influence. No, there's nobody influencing Biden. He's not this great activist. I had to correct somebody. Like Biden was marching the civil rights. No, he wasn't. He was against the civil rights movement. When I told this person this, they're like, "What? Show me!" And they were shocked. No, really, they were that shocked. Yeah, I had to break the meme, but no, they were. Like, oh, wow. And then they asked me the question, well, then how come all the liberals and Democrats voted for him? And I'm like, it's because money in politics, corruption. It's all the same everywhere. They're not who they say they are, which is why I always promote the thesaurus, right? When everyone starts using the word, again, when you see conservative commentators saying, oh, Democrats, Chicago's a communist utopia. It's not. It's not. Just call it a neoliberal corporatist hellhole, okay? There's nothing communist or socialist about this place at all, period.
Overall, if you go on most issues, maybe not the border, if you go on most issues, the Democratic Party
has moved
way more
of policy. In what way? It's been worse on unions.
Look at charts.
On what cultural politics? It's not policy. That's just vibes. Oh, you hang a rainbow flag out outside the White House. What's that actually doing for poor and working class gay
Green New Deal, etc.
What? Where's there a Green New Deal? Did Joe Biden pass a Green New Deal?
They all talk in support of it.
They talk about it, Robby, but they never do it. All right. It's like that abusive ex, all right? That abusive ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. Hey, I promise if you just lend me another $1,000 this time, I'll get on my feet. Yeah. I'm working on this business. It's gonna be great. No, Robby. You've been in this game long enough. AOC and Bernie are just saying things that they expect their loyal, subservient, brainwashed supporters to smile and nod about and get confirmation bias. The Democrats will never follow through. Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 for Kit. You just got to be patient, you silly goose. The Democrats are just saving up, keeping their powder dry, and just you watch. They're going to keep their promise. I guarantee it. Type 2, man, why'd you ask that question? No, they're not going to. You know damn well, Kit Kat, that they are not ever going to follow through with their promises. Otherwise, how are they going to fundraise? Because once they take care of the things that they promised they're going to do, why need them anymore, right? I wonder how many 2s will get in the chat. I wonder.
Where? When do they vote in support of it? When do they actually act and push it? When did you see a single Biden ad talking about how important it is for him to pass a Green New Deal? Never, none.
He talked about the Green New Deal all the time.
Joe Biden, when he was campaigning. The Joe Biden agenda has been the Joe Manchin agenda, and they're frankly proud.
Okay, Republicans can take comfort in that the Democrats don't accomplish all of the lofty societal transformations that they promised.
Lofty societal transformations. An overwhelming majority of Americans want there to be a wealth tax. This is not a partisan issue. The overwhelming majority of Americans want there to be.
Brace yourselves for it, folks, because this is going to be quite hilarious. Just trust me on it. All right, been saving up.
Universal health care. This is not a fringe leftist issue. I just did a radar running down. when 70% of Americans
Mass
support
confiscation
something,
of wealth from other people is
I'm
a
not doing
fringe.
this with you. When 70%
Okay,
of
I don't want to do it. More rising after this. Goodbye.
when 70% of Americans support a policy, it's not fringe. And you can't just sit there and say it's fringe.
Hold on. He's like, okay, show's over. Bye. Because we still got, guess what? We're 7 minutes, 18 seconds in. It's 11 minutes and 4 seconds. He tried to cancel it, and he got canceled. He got that Uno reverse card. Let's just watch it again one more time. That was pure gold. Like, I don't want to do this. Bye-bye.
When 70% of Americans
Mass
support
confiscation
something,
of wealth from other people is
I'm
a
not doing
fringe.
this with you. When 70%
Okay,
of
I don't want to do it. More rising after this. Goodbye. Go.
when 70% of Americans support a policy, it's not fringe. And you can't just sit there and say it's fringe.
You know what? I got to, God, there's so many videos I got to clip. You know, I got to get that fresh and fit clip of again. And I got to get this now. All right, that's it. Show's over. Bye-bye. One more time. Take away, Robby. How do you feel? And then this is it. The last one, I promise.
I'm not doing this with you. When 70%
Okay,
of
I don't want to do it. More rising after this. Goodbye. Go.
Bye.
when 70% of Americans support a policy, it's not fringe. And you can't just
Pure
sit there and
gold.
say it's fringe because you personally don't like it, Robby. 70% of Americans support the policy. So my point is this.
70% of
If
Americans
Joe
support what?
Biden, universal health care.
That depending on asked, I'm sure most Americans think that healthcare should be provided to people. How we actually pay for that and what the policy. Ask them how much of them want Obamacare or socialized medicine. Then they get.
We've been
very little
talking
support.
about billions of dollars going out the door for Israel for weeks. It's something that you don't agree with. But at no point did you say, "How can we pay for that?" Not once.
What do you? I don't.
We've
want
been
to pay for
talking
it. I
about
don't want to
yeah,
send
but you
billions
haven't
to
questioned
Israel.
how we're going to pay for it. You say we shouldn't pay for it, but there's an expectation that when it comes to military spending, of course we can pay for it. The second
I don't think we can pay for it. No, we're running up. No, we cannot afford to do the military
about
spending we're doing.
delivering for the health and welfare of the American people. That phrase comes up again.
That's not true at all. I
Out
don't
of
think we can
nowhere.
afford. That's just absolutely misrepresenting my position. I do not think we can afford the military
Check the
spending
notes.
we're doing at all.
I would bet every dollar in my bank account that you haven't said, how are we going to pay for that one time in a year?
How are we going to pay? We
about,
can't pay for it, and we should. I don't want to raise
and yet
taxes
you've
to
not
pay
said
for the
that.
military spending.
You haven't said, how are we going to?
God, mom, dad, stop fighting. Little brother, little sister are crying. My audience can't take this anymore.
Pay for it not a single time.
I mean, you're right. I've been preoccupied with, yes, we should not pay for it, but we also can't afford to do it. And
well, how
the
about you
military
stick
is running
to
up
we
our
should
deficit.
not pay for Medicare for all. Stick with that then. Sit here and stand by the notion that you think that we should not pay for Medicare for all. But
Who's
most
we?
Americans, America, the country, our government should not pay for Medicare for all. That seems to be your stance as you framed it with respect to a bunch of other expenditures.
Right.
But
I don't want the massive bloat that we have in our education and health system and other to impact whether people can get care, like in other countries that have those arrangements where people wait in lines for care for weeks.
God, hold on. I paused perfectly where Bree's just looking right at us, right? There's got to be moments where both of them are kind of looking at the mirror just before they start their morning show, like, all right, Bree, all right, Robby, you can get through this morning. You just got to drink that coffee and get ready to hit, put the rubber to the road.
And months and years. In fact, coming to America to get the care they can't get in Canada for the system you profess.
Yes, I wish we had healthcare like Canada. I wish we had healthcare like Israel.
Canadians wish they had healthcare like America. But
I wish you had health.
Hey, people, Canada, do you want our healthcare? Do you want our? By the way, to our international audience, do you really want what we got? People, Great Britain, British people, French people, German people, Canadian people, Australian people, anybody across. Y'all really want what we want? Do you really? Because trust me on it, ain't what's cracked up to be.
Like Israel, where people don't have to die in the street or have to get extremely expensive emergency care that average Americans have to pay for anyway because they can't get preventative treatment. I think that we're the richest country in the history of the world. And there's a relationship between the visceral pushback that you get when you start bringing up Medicare for all and a wealth tax and how popular they are and how much
cost the American government more than the military, but the military is also bankrupting us. I agree.
And
I would
how much
lop it in half overnight. But you can't just And foreign military spending or even domestic military spending would not bring our budget in line. It's the entitlement system that is causing us ruinous debt that we will pass on to our children and grandchildren.
And how much goes into preventing those perspectives from being reflected on a program like The View, and where someone like Charlamagne comes on and says, well, God forbid my vote be sought because I want these policies.
So obviously the video will be ending very shortly, but just a big takeaway from here is just, of course, folks, when you look at how this election is being played out, when you have Biden versus Trump again, all these emotions are running high and people are rightfully upset and scared and angry. And there were many people in 2020 that went to bat for Joe Biden, gave up their credibility, hell, gave up their honor just to support the Democrats because people have Trump derangement syndrome. And it's very clear that we're able to afford many things. We could take care of our people. We could invest into our infrastructure, Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness, really building strong, stable communities, safe communities, no matter what state you live in, red or blue, small town, big city, no matter what generation you're part of. I think we all deserve a safe and secure, happy life with freedom and liberty for all. But we don't have that because we have a neoliberal, corrupt system where we have money for wars, such as Ukraine and Israel. We have money to bail out banks and corporations, and our politicians are doing insider trading. There's a growing anger, and a lot of these policies, especially stuff that was promoted by Bernie Sanders, turned out to be pretty popular amongst everyone across the political spectrum. But it's important for us to have these dialogues and debates and conversations. You just don't quit up right away. So then that way, people just wonder, like, what the hell? Because you got to have a robust conversation.